Good morning, marketing nerds. Today's day one of this year's Social Brand Forum in Iowa City. As you probably know, the Social Brand Forum is a digital marketing conference where those of us who geek out over managing brands online gather to learn from the smartest folks in the industry. The Midwest doesn't get conferences like this, so it's great that the team at Brand Driven Digital continue to make it available to us. With speakers in the past like Jenny Dietrich, Chris Brogan, Jay Baer, and Hanley, and so many more, there's a lot to be learned, and this year it's moved to a new and unique venue. Right here is the Engler Theater. This is where the event's going to be held. It is an awesome, very old, newly redesigned building. You get to see inside later, but check out that marquee. And so day one started with a marquee event highlight for me. Getting to meet Mitch Joel at the VIP event. I guess he was impressed with my galley copy of Control-Alt-Delete since he posted it to his Instagram. Walking into the venue, we were greeted by the brand-driven digital tables with stickers, merch, and one of the coolest ideas for notes I've ever seen, coloring books. And entering the theater, you started to get a feeling that this was going to be special. Mitch Joel led the charge, taking the stage first. The change in technology for marketers has been fast with so many new tools, but much slower for users. They might try out a new tool and use it, but not all of them. It's more important to consider consumers' shift to access over ownership, and how with all of those changes going on, our main obligation is still to manifest strong, direct relationships. Tom Webster took us back in time and gave us a history lesson in marketing. Somewhere along the way, we've forgotten that it's our jobs to create demand for products, and those products require thoughtful input from our customers to ensure we're meeting their needs. That concluded a short day one. We left the theater and we're left to enjoy beautiful downtown Iowa City. It's been forever since I'd been downtown, but the green space built into the corridor between the buildings felt almost Robert Frost-like. I headed to my hotel room, where a bit of work awaited me. When I found my room, I was impressed with its style, which was comfortably urban and had a bathtub that would make my wife's knees weak. I closed the night with some West Wing, an epic episode where the president verbally owns a radio host and Sam Seaborn steals her last crab puff. And that brings us to day two. Mark Schaefer kicked us off with a warning about the income deluge of content, to which I created this sweet graphic in Snapchat from his slide. Mark reminded us that eyeballs don't equal likes, and likes aren't equal to shares. People share because they're emotionally connected, and not for economic reasons. Traffic doesn't mean trust. Mark said, be more human, reach the top 2%, and grow it. And then Justine Jordan talked to us about email design using only cat gifs. Yes, gifs, that's how I'm going to say it. Okay, not completely. She focused on the process of putting the work into the artwork of email design, making sure we think about the from, and the subject, and the pre-header, the colors and the buttons and the links, especially for mobile devices, which we still get wrong to this day. There's no reason for us to keep sucking at email. Laura Fitton had the difficult pre-lunch slot. We all forgot about eating when she emerged in the balcony in witch garb and cackled all the way to the stage. Laura reminded us that we all solve problems, and we all suffer from funnel leakage. The trickier we get in our tactics, the less credible our leads. We must live the mantra that it's not about us. It's about the person we're connecting with, and we must be useful, and we must be humble. Her advice, put simply, create content about the problem you solve for the person who cares. After another quick break for lunch, it was improv master Tim Washer's turn. Tim pushed us to accept that everyone is creative as long as they can find a zone of comfortability. He advised that we can spur creativity by using webbing to identify topic characteristics that generate ideas that elicit creative scenarios. And while we're creating, we shouldn't get caught up in the production value, but should focus on getting the idea out there, sort of like this video. Tamsen Webster spoke to us about the natural laws of communication, including the psychological resistance that blocks us as humans from hearing the right answer because it's been delivered wrong. And then she hurt our brains with her cognitive miserdom math example and reminded us that we are all biased and self-centered, and we have to account for that in each and every one of our communications. And finally, Scott Monty reminded us how mixed up we were as marketers. Our spending on print and digital is actually the inverse of what it should be according to usage. We're watching 71% of customers walk out the door because of poor customer service while spending 63% of our time on acquisition. The great promise of social media was conversation, but brand narcissism is getting in the way. Again, Scott, like others, said we have to embrace our humanity and listen intently to customers. I got to reflect on the 2 days during my drive home, and along the barren Iowa interstate, watching another day's sun collapse beyond the horizon, I couldn't help but think that as we move forward another day, the Social Brand Forum was just as much about slowing down or even going back in time as it was about innovation and moving forward. We're urged in this marketing epoch to use all the tools and relentlessly create content, too often forgetting our real job does and always will fall back to the 4 Ps. We're urged to remember that customers don't adopt all the tools like we do, and that no matter the strategy or tactic, product that doesn't meet the needs of customers will fail. There are human truths to communicating that we must respect, and our desire to be creative really is in there somewhere. The complexity of marketing has changed, and just as Moore's law holds true for technology, so it does for the complexity of marketing. As students of this game, we have the last 100 years of innovation to learn about, as well as the last 100 days of innovations. You've heard of Blab, right? But I think I'm comfortable with the change, because like you, I was there at Social Brand Forum, learning from the brightest minds in the industry. And as long as we keep trying to learn from these leaders and trusting in each other to weather the temptations of clickbait and biggest follower counts, I think that us, our businesses, and the marketing profession will be just fine. See you next year.